Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. We have a great show tonight. We have a great guest for you that's going to help you. If you're preparing a Thanksgiving dinner, if you are, someone who's preparing a Thanksgiving dinner, you need to go and get him and let him watch this episode because um, Chef David Grofik is going to be with us. He's going to help us have a better Thanksgiving this year. Alrighty, let's do this.
Welcome to Laughter for All. It's the podcast with Comedian Nazareth.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast. I'm Comedian Nazareth. Thank you for joining me on episode 228. It is November already, 2024. I don't know where the year went, but I'm glad it's almost over. Christmas is coming, Thanksgiving is coming, and that's a great time to be able to be thankful and also the whole thing. I don't have to remind you, but just got back from Midland, Texas. I did a show last Sunday night for First Baptist Church in Midland, Texas, which they have 10 blocks. They own 10 blocks. The church is 10 blocks long. That's a big church, and had a great time. Lots of people were there, and we had a great time. I just praised God, and I gave the invitation at the end. So praise God for that. And then the next day, uh, you know, American Airlines did something, canceled a flight because of weather in Dallas. So we got delayed. So when I got to Dallas, I missed my flight. So I had to be rebooked on a flight to Santa Ana, California, not Ontario. So here's advice from someone who flies 100 times a year: stick to one airlines, get levels, elite levels with them. That's how you do it. Or get the credit card for that airline. And whatever purchases you do, if you're good with credit cards, if you don't need credit cards, don't use them. If you're not good with them, I was bad with credit cards for 20 years. So I'm not saying you should, but now I pay them right when I get the bill. So if you are like that, get the points on the same airline, a credit card for that same airline, because you start getting points. And when you get elite level, if a flight is canceled or there's something wrong, you pick up the phone and there's a different phone number. They call it the elite desk, and you call them and they answer right away instead of putting you in hold 45 minutes or an hour while the other passengers are calling. That doesn't mean you're better than anybody else. That just means that you're wise when you travel. And then they will move you to the next flight right away. And they did that, and then we got into Sena flight, and there was some mechanical, so we had to wait. Anyway, I got home last night. But anyway, it's okay because it's not a show day. When it's not a show day, I'm very flexible with the airlines. When I have a show, now I fly a day before. People, after the pandemic, air travel have changed completely. You will never again be on a flight that is half full. That used to be the case all the time. You get on a flight, you get all three seats to yourself or free, or you're always upgraded. Not anymore. After the pandemic, every flight is full. And sometimes there's delays, sometimes there's a lot of things. So now I fly the night before to my concert, the day before. I don't want to take chances. So if you're a speaker or someone that has to be somewhere, don't take a risk. Fly before, because I live in California. I always have to fly going, east, so it takes longer. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna have to say for that. Last Saturday, before I flew in Sunday to Texas, we had our Voice of Refugees Thanksgiving dinner. This is when our ministry, Voice of Refugees, that serves thousands of refugees who flew in here. They didn't cross the border; they flew in here from countries that was war torn. They had a war from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from Syria, from Sudan, from other countries, Ukraine. So those are not what you, when you say, refugees, you think, oh, those are illegal immigrants. They're not. These people were vetted by the United States, and they come to us already with documentation and papers. They are legal in this country. Uh, I feel bad saying this to a bunch of Christian friends and brothers and sisters because even if they didn't, I probably will serve them. I will help people regardless. You come to my backyard, I will help you. I don't care who you are, what happened to you. That's my Christ example, and I'm a follower of Christ. Anyway, so I let me get this out of the way. Anyway, my guest. Um, well, I went to VOR. I talked to Chris Khoury, my executive director, and he goes, "We have Chef David with us again this year, and we have about 500 people total on Saturday night. Mostly refugees, of course. There's a few, like 80 volunteers, but mostly refugees from all over the world. And Chef David was able to feed all of them. And he had volunteers, like 20 to 30 volunteers that he never met before. They come in into the big kitchen, and he just ran the show as smooth as you can be. Man, I was so impressed. I'm so thankful, and I'm honored to have him on the show. Please welcome my friend, my new friend, David Grofik. David, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you, Nazareth. Nice to see you again.
Thank you again for the Saturday. That was, you're to see a master at his craft. To see, you no stress whatsoever. I walk in the kitchen and I'm seeing all these people volunteer, young people to older people to, and everybody's doing something, and there's laughter. There's everybody's happy, and you were just laughing. You're having a great time. How do you do that?
Well, I'll tell you, we did have a great time. We had so many wonderful volunteers, and we did a lot of praying before and after because we just there was just so much to be thankful for, and God provided just in every aspect when of course, in trying to feed as many people as we did within the kitchen restraints. It was a wonderful kitchen, fantastic. But you're trying to put out a meal at the same time and make sure it's hot, and make sure it tastes great. So you just want everything to come out wonderful, and there's a lot going on in a kitchen, and I think having the fun, that's what it's all about. And so God provided right when we needed it, brought the right person, the right resource, the right person went out to get something else. And it was a real team effort. I can't take credit for it. It was everyone contributed so much, and everyone took, even the kids, they took such ownership of everything that they cooked. They wanted to do a great job, and they did a great job. And we didn't have any cuts. So safety first in the kitchen. And everyone, I gave a quick little knife class, and I'll tell you, Zach and Mia and these wonderful zone. I'm sorry,
Stephanie and
yes,
everybody else.
really, Chef Stephanie and then Chef David came at the end and helped with an amazing gravy that was like unbelievable. So it all just it all fell together because I did not know until the day before that Chef Stephanie was going to be coming, and also I had no idea until he showed up, until Chef David arrived, and we just let people come and serve, and that was the beauty. No one was trying to control it was all a community effort, and that was very important.
You just, as a comedian, I always like watching for stuff. I think we can have a new worship song for Thanksgiving called Amazing Gravy. How sweet the taste
It was.
that
It
filled
was.
a rich like me. I'm not making fun of the
No, I
Orthodox
learned
Jew.
something because I did the gravy we did two seatings. We did 120 in the first, and then we did about 400 in the second. And the first one I did the gravy, and boy, he was a chef at the Hyatt doing banquets and things, and he really did a nice job for like a bulk gravy. And I haven't had that experience of making a bulk gravy, so he did a great job.
Now, what is the most people you've served in your career at one time?
That would have been it. That's definitely it. So,
And see, my
yeah.
my thinking was of a chef. Like a chef is someone who just like he cooks the meals himself. But then I found out that not only you have to be great at making the meal and making it taste good, but also you have to be an organizer. You have to be a leader. You have to be. And we said, do you learn that? Did you learn that from experience, or is there schooling involved with that?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't. I got the name Chef David when I first started last year. I volunteered. They had a wonderful service at Mariners, and they just offered different places to serve. And so we went outside, and there was all these different tables set up where folks could go and get involved where they thought they could, make it, provide some help, make a difference. So I saw the refugees, and I said, "That's for me. I'm going to do that." And so I got to meet Stacy and Chris, and we just started talking. We really hit it off, and I told them about my background of that I used to own a restaurant. I don't own it anymore. I studied culinary in school, but I'm no longer in that field. But I still had the ability to be able to cook for large numbers of people. So just creating a production kitchen environment. So I said, we could do whatever. We could do box lunches, dinners. I just love the World Kitchen and what that gentleman is doing. I should know his name, but I really giving folks a homemade meal, in times of stress and war and panic. There's nothing better than just a home cooked meal. And it's love, it's power, and it gives a refresh, and like a kind of, okay, we can move on. And so they had this thing come up with the refugee, with the Thanksgiving thing,
Uh,
and they called me, and I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I had no idea it was going to be like 350 people, so I kind of went for it. So last year we did it a little different. I did. The turkeys we did the traditional way, where we stuffed them, with the
mm,
stuffing, because I wanted folks to have a real traditional Thanksgiving,
American one, yes.
and to me that was with the stuffing and the bird and everything. And it was great. I mean, everything, again, God provided. It was a wonderful experience. It was an amazing time. All the volunteers, it was terrific. And sometimes, you don't have all the answers and know how everything's going to fit, but you just have the desire for it to be good. I just want the food to be the best it can be. And so I had that vision, and God provided, it was his vision all along. So I just helped fulfill it. So,
You
go ahead.
you mentioned something about last year you did the turkey the traditional way, and this year was different. Can you explain both and how you cook both, so people who are just watching or listening that want to know what's the best way to make to cook a
Oh,
turkey?
well, I would say by far what we did this year was really, really great. And I did it last year too, because we had to accommodate a lot of people. So the traditional way of cooking a turkey takes about 5 to 6 hours. So we didn't have that amount of time. We had 6 ovens, and we had like 10 countertop ovens. So what
Mm.
we were doing was spatchcock. So my friend John Kennedy, great guy, and he's a really great cook, and he gave me some information on how to do a spatchcock. And what that is,
Spatchcock. Okay.
spatchcock turkey. So what that means is you take the backbone out and you lay it flat.
Mm.
So it's a completely flat, so it cooks much faster, and you're cooking at a higher temperature. So how you offset that to keep the bird, nice and moist and flavorful, is you have your pan. You put on, cut onions in really nice sizes, like big, onions, carrots, celery, mushrooms. You could throw some garlic cloves in there, a little coarse salt, and ground pepper. And then you put on the top, we had fresh rosemary, fresh sage, and fresh thyme. And
Mhm.
so each of the trays had that base. And then we would take the turkey that was cut flat with the backbone removed, and we would place that on top of those.
Oh, on top of all that stuff, not
Top of
on.
all
You don't put it first. You put it on
No,
top.
it's on top of all of it. So all of that is under the turkey, and that's what gives it the flavor it keeps its moistness, and it's a wonderful way to do it. So the temperature that we were able to cook the turkeys at was 450 degrees. So we turned the ovens up, full blast, because we were cooking 6 turkeys at a time, and we were really trying to get them done. So when you're putting, ovens on that kind of a load, it takes a little bit longer for the items to cook. But, we had temperature gauges for everything. So everything has to be 180 degrees. For poultry, we made sure that the temperature was correct. But when it comes out, it only takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to cook like a 15 to 18 pound turkey. And the dark meat is perfect. The white meat is
Oh, yes.
moist,
It was
and
so good.
it's really great. So we had folks, peeling potatoes during that time and making. So the only other thing is, so a traditional turkey, you do the stuffing and the bird. I know there's pros and cons to each, making sure that the temperature is correct, because you want to make sure that if you do the stuffing in the bird, that you pull the stuffing out, but then you broil it. You have to broil it to make sure that it's cooked completely, and there's no chance of anyone getting, any type of salmonella or anything like
Well,
that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to be interrupted because I want to learn this. So the first way, when you take the backbone from the turkey, and he can't make any real decision in life because he doesn't have a spine. But do you rub the turkey before? Do you put any rubs on the turkey before you
No,
put it on
we
top of
just
nothing? You just take the
no,
turkey
just
on top of.
so it's kosher, coarse salt, and fresh ground pepper.
That's it. You just put it in there,
That's it.
and
That's it. But
450
inside the
for.
cavity on both sides. So inside the cavity. So coarse salt is the magic ingredient. So when you use like a table salt or like a fine salt, it's so much more powerful. So when you use kosher coarse salt,
Kosher,
it's
coarse, KORS,
coarse, KOURSE, coarse,
coarse.
coarse salt.
Okay, salt.
And
Okay,
so what that does is it slowly comes out, and it doesn't have as much sodium in it. So it's it's healthier, and it's just very flavorful. And you
and
don't over salt when you use that.
so when you put it for 450 for 2.5 hours,
Yep,
then you measure the turkey, and the turkey has to be 180 degrees. That means
yep,
it's done.
that's correct.
Okay,
And
but
then
when
you
you
cut
do.
it up. Yep.
Perfect. Now, when you do the traditional way and you prepare the stuffing, how do you put? How do you make your stuffing? What do you do when from scratch? What do you do?
So I like to well, last year I did whole like a whole wheat multigrain, but I felt it was too dark and it didn't look as appealing. So I mixed it up, and stuffing can be very, very creative. You can use white bread, multigrain bread, pumpernickel. You can mix it up and have a different number of breads in the stuffing. And then you can put, parsley is very important, celery, onions. We put carrots in the outside. So when you're doing a stuffing outside of the turkey, we use chicken stock, and then we kind of moistened it up with some mushrooms and flavorful like that. We kind of spiced it up with a little different vegetables to bring out some more flavor.
But you put the turkey and you stuff it inside or outside the
So
turkey.
if you're doing it inside, you can just do a very basic stuffing, which is, a couple different types of bread, onions, celery, thyme, rosemary, sage, a little celery, and then you use butter in there, and if you're doing it inside the bird, you salt and pepper the cavity before you put the stuffing in there. So you
Ah,
try to take the salt, and kosher coarse salt is great for doing that because it adheres to all the cavity really well. And so you just throw that in there, and then you stuff it, and then once it's done and the turkey's done, the turkey has to rest. So then you pull the stuffing, everything out, you put that into a broiling pan, and then you broil it for about 20 minutes, about 20
yeah.
25 minutes. And that's and you can do that while you're making the gravy. So if you're doing just one bird, that's a great time because the turkey's resting, the stuffing is broiling, and then you can make your gravy with the drippings from the turkey.
And the turkey's dead while it's resting, right? It's not. It's
Well,
not. I just want to make sure. Okay, so
yes,
you
it
make the
has.
stuff, you make the turkey, you make the stuffing, you do that. Okay, now, so that traditional way, when you have the stuffing, how much time and what temperature do you do that?
Well, that's a slower cook, definitely. So that's about 350. And I don't want to give temperatures because I think that something you really should follow a recipe. I think when you're doing a turkey for the first time, the thing I liked about the spatchcock is the meat was all done perfectly all together at the same time. So sometimes when you do a bird and it takes 5 or 6 hours, sometimes the white meat gets too dry and the dark meat is not done. So if you're going for trying to get a unified, everything's perfect, the spatchcock is by far in my opinion a great way
Wow,
to go.
that is awesome. Okay, so you're done. How do you do your gravy?
Okay, so gravy is just starting with a roux, which is flour and butter. So you have to know how to do a roux first, and then you use the drippings. That's really really important. Is that the drippings of the turkey give the gravy its flavor, and so gravies can be very very personal. You can really get creative. So there's giblet gravy, which uses the liver, the turkey livers. But what you want to do is, so when you take the backbone out and you have the neck, what you want to do is you start at the time of the turkey's cooking, you start a stock pot and you put in the neck, the backbone, and you put in like a half an onion, like three of them, as many. If you have a big stock pot, you're making your own stock. And
Uh-huh.
so you're putting in a bunch of carrots, some celery, all the backbones, from the turkey, the neck, and that comes out. You want to cook that for like 3 hours, and that
Mm.
gives you the stock for your gravy. And so that's the real secret, because when you do the roux, that's just flour and water, right? And
Uh-huh.
then you add the drippings to bring that out just a little bit more, okay? And
Uh-huh.
then you add that beautiful broth, and that brings it out into a nice gravy.
And how much butter do you put in there?
You know, with the gravy, I really don't use a lot of butter because there's already butter in everything else, and so for myself, I don't. I think, well, I mean, once the roux is done, I mean, after the fact, right? So, like, if to do a roux, about a stick of butter, right? But
Uh-huh.
like afterwards, you're trying to, and for folks who can't have a lot of fat, there's a lot of butter alternatives. So there's what's that?
I can't
Um,
believe it's not butter.
no,
No.
no, it's a better one. I've gone back to butter, so I haven't bought it. I've fallen from because there's nothing that can replace butter. Butter is like the greatest thing a cook can have for
Now,
sure.
now let me ask you this before I get to the rest of the menu. How your taste palette as a chef, you have to have good taste palette. You have to you can tell the difference between a good brand of, for example, an olive oil to a different kind. Does that is that the case? How do you develop that, or how do you are you
Well,
born with that?
Well, my mom was an amazing cook, and she knew how to bring everything out. So, cooking is all about order and procedure, right? But
Mm.
what she was amazing at was bringing the one thing out to its perfect expression before she added the next thing. So it's a series. Cooking is a series of events, but you got to bring the one thing out before you do the next thing to make sure that you're getting that full expression and flavor. And she was a master at it. So, um, yeah, she was great.
So you can just taste something. Can you taste something and tell what's in it, every ingredient in it?
I'm getting better at it, and I think it's a good thing to do because you definitely want to try to mimic it in your kitchen. And so yeah, I mean, I try to be able to. But the one thing, if you are cooking, especially for a large number of groups, the one thing that is a problem for cooks is that they get salt. You get salt immune. You can't. Your salt palate is affected. So you have to make sure you have another chef or someone who you trust who can also taste the items to make sure you're not oversalting. Because you can always
Wow.
put salt on it, but you can't take salt off of it. I mean, once it's on it, that's it. You're done.
Uh, okay, so now we got the turkey, we got the stuffing. What's the next big thing? Do you do a ham sometimes?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
how? Where? First of all, where do you buy? What brand? Do you have a certain brand of turkey that you think it's better, that you personally like, or any kind?
No, I just think that trying to find the right. We did some fresh. Krista did a wonderful job getting the turkeys for the church, and she got fresh. We were able to get to Sam's Club because we went to Costco and they did not receive their turkeys yet. So we were she was able to be very resourceful and get all the number of turkeys we needed. So I think just getting a good or if you can do organic
Mm,
and just no antibiotics, no preservatives, no hormones.
that's very good. That's
That's
a
that's the
definite.
one thing I always look for is no chemicals, everything clean. That's important to me.
How about the ham? What do you? How do you cook a ham?
I'm not really a ham expert. I would have my mom was.
Get her
So
on the phone.
she, well, she's in heaven right now, so we're gonna
Amen.
have to we'll pray so that she can give you some guidance in a dream or something.
Oh, okay. So no ham. We're not talking. Hey, be kosher, people. Don't do ham. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next big dish in Thanksgiving, what would it be?
I think mashed potato. Well, the stuffing we covered. I think the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you do mashed potatoes? Your
well,
way.
there's a number of different ways to do mashed potatoes, but just as the normal like mashed potatoes, what I feel is just peeling them, boiling them in filtered water because I think the water is very, very important. So the restaurant that I had was a pizza restaurant, and I'm from New York.
Uh-huh.
So everyone always says, "Well, why is New York pizza so good?" And it's the water. The water, it's amazing. So when I had my pizza restaurant, we would use distilled water for the dough because it just had that like cloud. It would just be so soft and wonderful, and it's all about the water. So when you're making mashed potatoes and things like that, people sometimes just put tap water in it, and I think you should use filtered water or something that's just cleaner. And then so you boil them, and then once you strain them, you just milk and then butter and the again the kosher salt, ground salt, and fresh ground pepper, and that's a standard mashed potato because you don't want to do too much with it because you're going to be putting the gravy on it, and
Right.
so the traditional dishes like the turkey has that great flavor, the stuffing has that great flavor, the the gravy has the great flavor, and so you're trying to make these other items like kind of stretch it, but also have a little kick to it. Just the right amount of salt and pepper gives it enough punch that with the gravy, it's just a wonderful thing.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the water because one time we were in New York and we went this famous in Brooklyn under the bridge, Ghirardelli Pizza, or what is it called?
Okay, I don't know, but there's some wonderful
Yeah,
pizza
and
restaurants there.
and
Yeah,
we were asking the chef or the cook there. He says, I said, "You guys have one in Vegas?" They go, "Yeah," and we export the water to them. I'm like, "What?"
yeah,
They go, "Yeah,
yeah,
we use our own water. We don't let That's
yeah.
very interesting to know. So we got the mashed potato. What about yam? How do you do the yam?
Well, we did the same thing with the sweet potatoes. We did um, a standard mash. It was pretty much the same, but we made it lighter because sweet potatoes has a flavor of its own. So you
Mm,
kind of want to let the vegetable express itself, and you don't want to take too much away from that. So in a traditional Thanksgiving dinner, you want each of these things to be expressing themselves, right? So
right.
I didn't mask like the sweet potatoes. I just put a little milk, little butter, and salt and pepper. Not a lot because I wanted that. I wanted to have like a neutral side of the plate, right? So we had the real flavorful, but then the sweet potatoes. It's like a little break from that. It's like wow, oh, because then the sweet potatoes kind of punch in a different way, because it's not all seasoned crazy. It's clean, and
Mm.
so I like that.
Now, okay. Next is the green beans. You had green beans. How do you?
Yeah.
Where do you buy your vegetables as a chef when you're doing it for your own
I'll
home
tell
or
you,
your restaurant?
Costco is amazing. They're the number one organic vegetable distributor now, and they have an amazing selection of organic fruits and vegetables. So we got all the beans, organic string beans from Costco, and then we got organic mushrooms. So we did a string bean casserole with mushrooms. So what I did was I fried like some beautiful brown organic mushrooms and in butter, just sauteed them. And then, because we were doing such a volume, I would have done a cream sauce, but I used the Campbell's cream of mushroom soup, put that in there with the milk and brought that out. But I wanted to have a little more punch of the mushrooms. So that's why we sauteed the mushrooms first
Mm.
and then added that, and then we just cleaned all the string beans. We had each of the and all the volunteers were doing that. They were setting
Wow.
up all the different containers ready to go, and so we had all the aluminum. So once they were done, we added the mushroom, and then we did the French onion on top, and then we put them in each of the countertop ovens for like 2 hours.
Mm.
Definitely when you're making natural string beans, they have, and it's nice because they have a wonderful texture. And so when you cook them for like the 2 hours, they still have a great texture, but they really absorb the flavor of the mushrooms and the sauce. So man, we went through a bunch of the string bean casserole. That's for sure. Everyone seemed to like it.
So you put the sauteed mushrooms, you put the green beans, and you normally, if you don't have a big crowd that you're cooking for, what would you put instead of the Campbell soup? What would you
Well,
put?
you could just make a cream sauce, with cream or milk. If you want to keep it low fat, you can use 2% milk and
Uh-huh.
just thicken it with a little flour and water if you want it a little thicker. So the nice thing about cooking is there's no it's all you. It's like what you want to do. And I always love this about this guy from Franklin Barbecue. I saw a couple of his videos, and I love barbecue. And he goes, "You know how to make some really good barbecue?
Uh-huh.
Make
How?
a lot of bad barbecue."
That's
And that's it. Cooking is experiment. And that's what was nice because when I was talking to some of the other, the kids who were cooking there and expression, I said, cooking, there's no rules. I mean, there are rules, like if you're baking, it's more scientific. But when you're cooking, especially when you're cooking for family, you know, be creative. It's all love. I mean, just throw as much love in there as possible, and it should taste good.
Okay,
That's
so we're done with the casserole, string beans. We're done with the mashed potatoes, both. We got the turkey. We got the stuffing. The cranberry sauce. How do you make it? Where do you get
we
fresh
just use
cranberry?
no, we use canned cranberry sauce because it just the amount of time that we had. But there's amazing cranberry recipes, and so and there's a lot of other amazing tricks for sweet potatoes. I know Chef Stephanie had one that she mentioned to me that she was working on, and it sounded awesome. I don't want to steal her thunder, so you'll have to have her on the show and tell you about that recipe because I think it sounds very good. All right, I'm going to
Oh,
tell you a little bit about it. It's
yes.
the sweet potatoes with a walnut crumble with a maple syrup drizzle with marshmallows. That sounds
Ooh,
pretty good.
yeah. You
But
got
that's
me
not
there.
the production environment.
So what is a drizzle? What does that the drizzle mean?
Oh, like so it's like a maple syrup glaze kind of.
Glaze. Okay.
Yeah, but you
And
make it kind of look nice, with the
but
drizzle.
that's for dessert or just
No,
part of the meal?
that's part of. I mean, people do yams so many different ways. You can broil them. I mean, there's a million options. So this is more of a basic production traditional Thanksgiving because of just the time and the amount of people that we were serving within that time. It's hard to get to that level. But maybe next year.
Yeah, yeah, would love.
Next
We
year,
we're
we'll see.
doing it next year.
Yeah.
So what? Okay. So what else would you put on a Thanksgiving dinner table other than what we mentioned?
Candles.
Okay, let me be selfish here. I'm a pizza guy. Give me some secrets about pizza. How to make a pizza at home.
Oh,
That's
how to
really
make a
good.
pizza. All right. Well, it's all about the water. It's all about the yeast, and those are the two things. And I'll give you another secret. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
this is the secret of New York pizza. Okay,
Okay.
you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Granulated garlic.
Granny?
No, granulated garlic, not garlic powder. It's granulated garlic. You can get it at Costco, and what it is, it's just gives the sauce a zip to it. And so, New York pizza, the sauce is very, very important. And so the granulated garlic gives it that little zip to it. And everyone's oh, what is it? What is it? What that's a lot of it. So
So how do you make the sauce? Do you make it yourself or you buy like canned or
no,
stuff?
I make it myself. So you just use diced tomatoes, puree, a little salt, a little sugar, pepper, granulated garlic. It's very it's simple, but it's not, because you have to like lend it to the different toppings that you're doing. But the
Mhm.
dough is very important. So I was using Flashman's refrigerated cake yeast, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere. So I have to go back because I haven't made pizza for a while now, and it's hard. I'm used to that, so I would use olive oil, Flashman's cake yeast, fantastic, and just some clean water, and you make some wonderful dough. And just regular flour, organic, good flour, and it's very nice. I mean, it's like working with dough is kind of therapeutic. It's a good thing. Do you
Wow.
bake at all?
Not me. I don't touch. I have a wife who's excellent chef. I mean, Maha is amazing. I'll give you a quick example. Uh, my daughter's school, my youngest daughter, she
Uh,
was serving. Also, they said, "Oh, we're gonna have you make a salsa that we're gonna sell to raise money for your mission trip." So
great.
Maha helped, of course. Sally helped her mom, and her mom made a salsa, a green salsa. And we're not Latinos, but She went to school and she said within few minutes she sold all of the big jars. There's people loved it. They tasted the bar. She does what do you call it? Banana bread that to die
Oh,
for that I
great.
can't eat. Just she does a chicken something in a Mediterranean way. Just she's an amazing chef. So I don't get in the kitchen at all.
Well, you're missing out. You got to get in the kitchen and get your hands dirty.
I know. Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of hands, you're also a musician, right?
Yeah.
Do you play? When do you play, or when do you?
Well,
What do
I'm
you
I'm
play?
working on I've been really busy with other projects, but I love to play music. I'm a piano player and a guitar player,
Oh, you
and
are.
I like to compose. So that's like my thing, and it's a wonderful just sitting and coming up with great with music that speaks to you. The thing I love about the piano or guitar or any musical instrument is like you can match how you feel with a sound.
Mm.
And when you're going through something, I mean, that's why they call it like the blues or, whatever. When you're going through something, there's nothing like, letting it out in a music, in an instrument, because you can express how you feel with that sound. And I think it's really healing. I think, I mean, it helps me.
It,
And
it does. It does. I was listening to a scientist. He was asked, "What other ways to get endorphin in your body other than the working out?" And he
oh
goes,
yeah.
Listen to music that you like. It just brings endorphin in your body." Well, do you have a song you compose that you can play for us so it takes our mind off the food for a minute?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a couple verses of a song, because I know everyone has gone through this pandemic, and
Uh,
I'll just give you this one verse that I have, and that's, I just got this new guitar.
okay.
I was in New York, and yes, I ate a
Pizza.
lot of pizza.
Where do you go for pizza in New York?
Oh man, I went to a whole bunch of different places, but I've been to. So this is my new guitar. It's a
Yeah.
Taylor. It's a little travel guitar. It's
Uh,
it's amazing. So when we went there, it was the first pizza restaurant in New York, and my brother Brian and I went in there, and oh my gosh, it was awesome. And we
what?
went down and saw the ovens, and they were just this wall, this huge wall, and this and that was in the back. And it was there, like it was right in Little Italy in New York.
Oh,
And
what's the
so
name of it, or you don't know?
I don't know off the top of my head,
We'll
but
find it.
if you just Google, the first pizza restaurant in New York City, it'll show it
Okay.
to you.
Oh
So
man.
we went there, and then outside, I don't know if you remember, like, The Godfather, when they did all the when they walked out they have the Italian celebration
Uh huh.
in the streets in Little Italy.
Yeah.
They were setting up all for that celebration. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. They had the lights across the street, and it looked. Oh gosh, I wish I could have went back to experience that,
Tell,
because
tell me. Uh, I'm sorry. I mean, I've been to little in California. Where do you go for pizza that you like?
So locally here, there's a couple of good places, but I found a new one, and I
Okay.
love their story. And it's called Sal's, and the guy was from Italy, and I learned from a guy's from Sicily. I mean, that's how I
Mm.
learned. And this guy is from Sicily, and
Mm.
I got his pizza, and it's great. I think they have like 3 locations. His son-in-law started it, and his father-in-law, he used to make pizza for the family, and bring it, because they have like a little testimonial on their website.
Uh huh.
And I just love that, because Italians have such wonderful family heritage, and you know it's a wonderful culture, and it's about feeding and great food, and just kicking back. And so I just really enjoyed what he was talking about, and what he put together, and so it was great. But I think so there's the Neapolitan, which is the round, but then there's Sicilian. And it's hard to find a good place to make Sicilian, because not many places make that. And that's like the thick pizza, and that's really, really good. And so Peppino's makes a really great Sicilian, and they have a works that, it's fantastic. And they make me, so my test of any good Italian pizza place is the meatballs. If they make a great meatball, that's my test.
Okay, so Sal's and Peppino's.
Yeah, Sal's and Peppino's are probably the two best that I've found.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it. This is a great. Okay, give us something you created music-wise.
Well, so during the pandemic, this line would come up, because we were spending so much time alone, and I think everyone kind of felt alone,
Right.
and what does that mean, when you're alone, and so I just started playing with these chords and everything, because, like I said, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it's interesting. I think the pandemic, it brought out a lot of different emotions in people. I think the world will never be the same because of what we all went through together. And it's like, you look at that time, and people talk about that time, and it's hard to even think of what you did a few years ago, because you have to factor the pandemic time into it. And usually you're off by a year or two.
Right.
Where you were, or what you were doing.
That's right. That's right.
It's just like the Twilight Zone. So this is the song that I kind of put together for that. So there's no one here but you. There's no one here but you. You can do anything you want to do. There's no one here but you. So come along. Come along. So it goes on like that, and there's a lot of deep, deep lyrics, but that's like a very, there's no one here but you, and that's not a place. That's not a good place to be.
Right. David, when the pandemic had the day they shut California, I went online and started a show called Live with Nas that we did 400, I think 80 something shows every night, and we had between 300 to 1,000 people every night, and it was just amazing just to be together with people and talk. But let me ask you this: two questions, and get you back, because I'm hungry now. What do you do for a Thanksgiving dessert? You make yourself, it's not just buying a pie, you just make
Oh my gosh, no, you got to make the best apple pie. And the best pumpkin pie. Those are the
tell me
two.
how. Tell me how.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have to make it. You got to make the dough yourself, and butter, flour, and just So when I make an apple pie, I like using 3 different types of apples, and you can be creative there. So if you like sweet, tart, but mix it up. That's very, very good. And so variety's the spice of life, especially when cooking and pies. So, with my daughter, we would make that was a big highlight of the holiday, was to make apple pies with my mom, and that's some great memories.
So how do you make it from scratch? What do you start with?
Well, you just start with the 3 different apples. You just peel them, and you use sugar, cinnamon, butter. And you put that in, and then you mix that all up. But you have to do the dough a little bit before, because you got to refrigerate it. And then it's very, very, very simple. But for baking, I would suggest folks to, find a recipe that you like, and then, go for it. Find some other ways to express it, with a different take on it. So, I mean, I used, I think, Gala's, Granny's, and what was the other one? Fuji's last time, and it came out unbelievable. It
Good.
was,
So you recommend three kinds of apples for an
yeah.
apple pie and make it. Do you cover it like on top of it? You cover it with dough or no?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Oh yeah. 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 I
Okay.
mean, a
How?
lot of people like to do the crumbs and things like that, but I like the traditional apple pie, and like I said, my mom was a great cook in that, and she, I'm not really a baker. A lot of that's more of a science. And one of the our cooks there was a good baker, and I said, "Oh, you must be a scientist. You must be good in math." And she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm great in math."
Wow.
So,
Now, how do you make a pumpkin pie from
well,
scratch?
a pumpkin is pretty simple. You evaporated milk, pumpkin, canned pumpkin, and you could, on the pumpkin pie, I let it slide a little bit because you just get a graham cracker crust. You can get them in the store, or you can make one, which is nice, or but you can even put a little, some walnuts on that. I love pecan pies, but I've never ever made a pecan pie before.
Mm.
But
But you
apples I've
get
made a
canned.
bunch.
You get canned. What do you call it? Pumpkin.
Yeah, canned pumpkin and evaporated milk, and it's fantastic. It's very simple. That's why the pumpkin pie is a great pie, because it's a simple pie to make, and it's delicious. That with a little whipped cream on top. That was what my mom she always had, like fresh whipped cream, or ice cream with it, just the perfect side thing, and she always cooked it to perfection. And
Good.
that's the key too. It's cooking it to really release all the flavor, and I can't stress that enough. For anybody who cooks, that's probably the hardest thing, to not you don't want to mess it up, especially
So
with family coming over.
yeah.
No stress.
So how long do you put the pie in the oven?
It depends how big the pie is. So I highly recommend a recipe. I don't want to steer anyone wrong in that, but I think like anything, it's just being creative, and the love, just and being together, peeling apples with your family.
That,
That's it.
you're right.
That's it.
So we covered the turkey, the two ways of doing turkey. We covered the mashed potato, the
Yep.
yam. We covered the bean casserole. We covered the what else did we? Oh, the cranberries, and we
Yep.
covered what? What else did we miss? Did we miss anything?
No, I mean, for that meal, that was. Oh, but then we had salads. I mean, a Thanksgiving dinner is just means so much. It means a lot to different people of what their family traditions are. And
Mm,
so the nice thing about what we had at the refugee dinner was folks brought food. They brought their traditional dinners. There was so much food brought there as well, and
right.
so we made salads. And that's the thing. I think it's kind of good to spice it up with something new, maybe from another country. Or I mean, that's been my experience these last couple of years, is just seeing some of these dishes that I've never even seen before.
Mm.
And that's, I think that inspired me a little, for sure.
Good. Okay, let's talk about drinks. What's the
Okay.
perfect drink with a Thanksgiving dinner?
The best is
Non-alcoholic.
the sparkling apple cider, and
Strong.
that's by far. And also, if you go to Julian, so Julian is a really famous place in California. They make
Yes, the
amazing.
city, the Apple City, the Apple
The
Town.
Apple City, yeah. So if you get a Julian apple pie, but their apple juice is amazing. It's unbelievable. But just the regular sparkling apple cider is fantastic, and that's a great thing to serve.
Now, Chris Rossetti's a friend. He said, "You ever put cheese on an apple pie?"
I don't, but I know people do. So I think
Oh.
anything goes. If you like cheese on it, I'm trying to limit my dairy, so no.
Now you're
No for me.
I'm drinking water. You're drinking something that you told me before about
Oh,
before the show that you can you explain that drink that's very healthy?
yes. I call it the purple sunrise.
Purple
And
sunrise.
yes, I'm sorry, I've already drank most of it. But what it is, it's pomegranate juice, organic pomegranate juice,
Uh-huh.
harmless coconut water, and then a probiotic. I'm
Okay.
a probiotic orange peach mango that Trader Joe's has, and it's
Orange,
really
peach,
fizzy.
mango,
So
and
it's so you put like equal parts of each, and it's a beautiful drink. You serve it with ice cubes, and it's an excellent refreshing drink.
okay,
Get
so so you go to Trader Joe, get the orange peach mango probiotic, and
Yep,
you add
they
to
have
it
the organic.
pomegranate, organic pomegranate, and harmless coconut. Why is there's a harmful coconut water?
That's the brand. It's called Harmless. It's
Oh,
organic. It's actually it's pasteurized coconut water. It's unbelievable because there's a lot of coconut water out there that's very high in sugar. This is very good for you, coconut water. This is a lot of potassium. It's just low in sugar, but it's all natural. So, and this is kind of high. You have to be watch it if you're can't do sugar, but I love it. So
oh, that's
it's
wonderful.
pretty
Let
good.
me ask you this. Let's say you want to try a new recipe, not yourself from scratch, but you want to go somewhere online or somewhere and get a recipe. Who's your favorite person, go-to person that you would like to use their recipe?
I took a master class from Gordon Ramsay.
Uh-huh.
That was really, really good. And I think, there's a lot. I have a cookbook from Emerald that was very good. I made these poor boy sandwiches. Oh my, they were meatballs with, the meat, veal, and pork. And they had a kernel of garlic in the center of it. And he
Mm.
always does this BAM thing. So you take a garlic that's like a quarter of an inch round, and then you wrap a meatball around that with the meat, veal, and pork, and it's unbelievable. And then you put that in flour, and then you roll it in the cayenne pepper,
Uh-huh.
and then you fry that with onions, and then you put some. I know you can't use alcohol, but the recipe calls for a dark beer, and then you simmer that for an hour, and you serve it with provolone cheese on a sub. It's
Oh my,
fantastic.
that's
So
killer.
he's a great cook. Not the healthiest because some of the recipes are very high
Mhm.
in fat, and so I think some of the recipes, you have to definitely doctor them to make them a little bit more healthier because, getting away from butter, and I think it's a good idea, for sure.
Yeah.
Smart Balance. Smart Balance is the other chef alternative for butter. Smart
Oh,
Balance.
wonderful. David, you've been amazing. I learned so much. I'm starving. I was
Well,
so stuffed when I started the
I
show.
wanted to show my knives that they gave me as a thank you. I got these beautiful chef knives, and I wanted to thank everyone at the Voice of Refugees, for these beautiful knives that I will be cherishing, and cooking my Thanksgiving dinner with them. So,
Oh, thank
I
you.
can't tell you what an amazing, I mean, we had so many laughs. And that's the thing. It's the joy of cooking. And that's what I really feel is like the Holy Spirit, when everyone gets together and we're all doing something together, and the joy that was around the kitchen was amazing. And we had so many laughs. Everyone was really having a great time. So it
You
was
know,
it was a wonderful experience. A
and you
wonderful.
added so much. When Chris told me there's a chef there, I thought I'm gonna see Gordon Ramsay screaming at everybody. I'm like, honey, I'm not going in the kitchen. You go and help. And you were just smiling, the whole evening with all this. Like it could have been a stressful environment, but everybody was happy, everybody was laughing. And what my wife Maha told me, that she said Chef David trusted people to cut stuff, to do stuff themselves. He was like okay with them to do. I go, wow, I know nothing about cooking, but that's amazing that he did that. So thank you so much. We do a Christmas event too. We do Thanksgiving every year, and because we'd love
Yeah.
to have you back anytime. You can walk into our kitchen, and we'll
Oh,
just let you take over.
well, I'll tell you, I would. I'm there. I'm there, and it was so. It. I just really spent the next day just thinking about how God provided everything, and the order of how God provided, and that we
Mm.
prayed, and everyone was there. We started, and when we started with a prayer, and then when the turkeys came out, we prayed over the turkeys. It
Oh,
was really a wonderful, fulfilling day. I mean, and we had a lot of laughs. I can't tell you. Brian, he must have washed dishes for 7 hours straight, and Laura, his wife, was putting
yeah, they're
everything away.
newlywed, Joe.
They were nonstop, and they made that all the things so clean and beautiful. And that's a tough job. And he was so funny, and we just had some great jokes going on. It was really
Yeah,
good.
I asked my wife
Yeah.
to get out of the kitchen so she doesn't have to see a man doing dishes for that long, because I knew what would be asked of me later. So that's
Hey, if you don't cook,
how
that's
can
the job you get.
how can people reach out to you? Maybe they have a question, maybe they want some advice, maybe something. Can they do that?
Yeah, of course. My email address. They can reach me there you have my email address, so I'm
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Or they can contact the church, and I'm happy to answer any questions at all. And really, I think Thanksgiving is such a great time for folks to get together and share. As families and friends, and it's a great way to bring cultures together. I know it's been a tough year for everybody, and
Right.
and that's what was so beautiful about this event was everyone was there and happy. There was so much fun being had, the kids running around going wild. It was just great, and that's what you need, because gosh, we don't need any more of the stress we've had uh, with the last all this political stuff. So I'm
Right.
very happy that we were able to celebrate all together and celebrate our diversity, our different cultures, because that's what God wants. That's what God created us
Amen. Amen.
to, and
Amen.
it's
Thank you for
wonderful.
being there. Thank you. And I want to encourage you people, go to Voice of Refugees, website, which is vorservices.org, and you can volunteer for our Christmas event if we're doing. I think we're doing one for Thanksgiving or throughout the year. We do several events like a picnic at the park and other where you can come and meet people who just came from a different culture, different country. They probably lost a loved one through in a war, and you can just love on them and show them the love of Christ. It's just amazing. Also, if you would like to donate to VOR services, VOR, you can do that. Um, you can just go to vorservices.org and click on the donate button and be able to donate. It costs a lot of money to put an event and to feed 400 people. It takes a lot of money to feed people, to do ESL classes, to take drive them every day, to bring them to the center to learn all this. And we don't take government money, so if you want to be donate to that, that would be awesome. Thank you, guys. David, thank you for donating your time and your gifting and all that. We love you. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for being
Well,
on this
thank
podcast.
you, Nazareth. You've been a blessing. So thank you. You and your wife both. So
Thank
thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, thank you for watching. Go tell your friends to watch this before Thanksgiving. I mean, so many great ideas. We're gonna do the turkey the way David just told us, the first way. I think it has a name, and he told us it's called a splash catch. But anyway, we're gonna do it this way. And there's a lot of things you can actually, if you don't know how to cook, just by watching this podcast, it's 1 hour, you can prepare a Thanksgiving dinner for your family. And they go, "How did you learn that?" You go, "Nazareth, the smart chef guy, Nazareth." No, they're gonna go, "You know what? Nazareth had David on the show, and Chef David was able to help him out, to help us out." So please share this episode with people, let people know about it, and I appreciate that. Well, happy Thanksgiving. I may see you next week, but if I don't, for any reason, like today, we had someone, the model that was supposed to be on canceled. She prayed for her son. He got hit and run by a driver, so he's in surgery. So pray for her, Tammy Star, and her son. Thank you guys for watching. Love you. Thank you. Please subscribe to this show, and have a great night. Thank you.